same, and you don't want just chaotic, climaxes all over the thing. It has to have an arc. It has to build up, and you have to follow, and the viewer is following along, and then there's a payoff. So that's number one, is picture structure, and that has to be, in your thought as you're painting. And I like it from the very get-go, is to get that in my thinking. Then the next one is, we've done picture structure. Then you have the subject structure. You want to get the structure of whatever you're painting, be it the skull, what's the structure under the skull, or if it's a tree, how it's leaning here, going over here, how it's building itself. So that's subject structure. I'm going to work on maybe a better name for that. And then the third one is a little shaky, but we're going to call it for the moment depth structure. So how, does your painting plausibly communicate near far? So those are the big three. And the reason I think that's helpful is because if you're painting, you could, and neglecting, say, picture structure, you're going to put in, okay, now I'll paint the ear, now I'll paint the nose, now I'll do the toenails, and you're not really thinking of how everything can help the big cause of how the movement goes. So, you need to know which agenda you're working on. So I could stand here and pontificate for 3 hours, but I was just saying maybe that's too torturous. So I'm going to say, let's begin the painting with structure. Not begin the painting with little doing petals. So if we're thinking big structure here at the outset, and here you see I've got a pretty ambitious thing going. I've forgotten until just now what it looks like. But let's say I'm going to get some transparent red oxide and some blue, and I'm going to try to define with this paper towel what the structure, how I see the structure. And it seems to me that you could go different directions with this, but I'm going to go with S-curve. So if we say, all right, we're going to just get the movement of this stuff and have it end, say, here. That's my structure. So I'm not yet thinking petals and pots and such. So we're just doing a structure and making sure the big challenge is not to get things too big at the beginning. So bear with me while I play with this. So going up here, those top flowers up there, coming down here, here, and then we're going to exit maybe here. So that's our plot. Now, at some point, we have to depict what's occurring. I'm going to pretend I'm a bit shorter than I am. I'm going to put the base of the shelf down there, we'll say. And so I'm going to crouch every now and then. It's not a physical defect, but so we get that in. All right, so now let's even though this is very blatantly a light against a dark, because I've got a white canvas, something I don't too often use, let's see what we can map out pretending it's dark here. That is so if I go to this as the pot, and then we're going to put in these flowers heading north, and then we've got a few trickling down here, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm not sure I can go out that far and have it work, but something like that is the plot. Yeah, we'll have these white flowers terminating here. Here's the edge of the pot, and so on. So I think that's our game. Everything over here we're going to minimize. We're going to kill off that because we're so wanting that major S curve as our kickoff. Now, the big thing about starting a painting that way, which I recommend, and I like to use paper towels as the drawing in tool. But anyhow, the main thing is, let's since we're under the gun, we want to get how long do we have here, by the way? Would you say 2 hours? All right, so we've got a lot of work to do now. Now, one thing I thought of as I set it up, that this so conveniently is located here, is this background is very rich and warm. So what the dynamic, we could say, that we've got is cool against warm. So we've got that interplay right away. If the background was white, obviously we'd have some trouble. But you know, A against B is always a good strategy. So let me get a big brush, and I'm going to try to speed paint this color, and I'm going to go with maybe what's it called? Burnt umber and orange. Let's see what that gets us. Maybe a little yellow too, but I've got to really move fast. So I want to get a little Venetian red in that to make it. This is wild painting. One thing about a white canvas is anything you do at the beginning looks a little violent. When you say, it's like, yikes. And this stuff is, and I'm not even that dark here with this stuff, but it does look like a tough scene. I'm going to have to get out more of the burnt umber. Wait a second. And another thing I want to share is that I find it very helpful to get the background in very early, as I'm doing now. You know, that we don't want to delay on that issue. So let's see. I guess there was, and then now, okay, so something like that, and then come over here. Now I've got one other trick to try here before I really start in earnest. I'm going to take just some black straight with a little bit of color in it, just to give us the base of this shelf. I want to get the black in early because I need to see how it's going to fly. And then I've got one other, here's a cheat. I'm going to do a little cheat. I'm going to put a black, as if there's a cast shadow here. Joel was offering to put it in for real, but we'll just put it in as a fake, as a pretend cast shadow. So you see how that empowers the painting. So now we're in pretty good shape. We've got the background in, we've got the big structure stuff in. And now here's what I think I'm going to do next is sort of what we could go after, what we could call a bullseye approach. So now that I've set the stage and done my duty, now I'm going to go close in on the core of the setup. So try to get the center, or at least, you know, since these flowers are so complex, I want to get some of that complexity in. But before I do that, let me see. I think we've got a pocket of lit daisies here, and then a few sticking out there. This sticks out. So bear with me. I'm just going to play with that a little bit. Okay. All right, so I'm going to bullseye this center area. I hope it's not going to be too tiresome to watch, but it has to be done. See that cluster? This is where I'm painting now. Come to think of it, it's sort of a, anyhow, it's got that kind of shape. So let's go after that little cluster. Now, the part below that cluster down here is I'm seeing a little bit of the leaves and such and stems. So I'm going to go super dark because I need the dark to get the petals to look bright. So let's see. You're not able to see what I can see here, but let's see. And then I'm going to cheat a little bit. Let's say there's some darks up here intertwining. Here's a nice dark. And then I see there's another little flower sort of peeking out that way. We've got, now also while I'm at it, let me get, I want to paint the side of that pot. You know, I'm going to pretend it's a white pot for the moment, and but the shadow has to be, you know, I don't want it to be that blue, but cool-ish, a little cool. I'm going to go, believe it or not, that's going to be the shadow color for the moment.
Can you tell us what you mixed to get that?
I wish I could. It's just a bunch of, I pulled some blue into the background scene and then added a little bit, but nothing too fancy. Let's see. Here's the neck, and then now that if I like that color, let's use that same color, that same brush, for at least the petals of the white flower, like here, the shadow petals, I should say. You'll have to. And then heating it up a little bit, I'm going to go to the petals of the yellow flowers. So there's this white. Oh yeah, this white here, I see. But with a setup this complex, you can see that I've got to slow down a little bit. Now, bear with me here while I want to get the petals behaving. So if I take white and blue and orange, let's see what I get. White and blue. This is going to be for the white petal, we'll say. And then we've got to mix up a different color for the yellow petal. I know it's probably hard to see anything what I'm doing, but back to my shadow. And now now the yellow has to have its moment. I'm going to try yellow and white. I think that should work. So let's see. Oh, I see. And then bear with me while I just put in a few more of these little petals. Then we've got yellow and white again. Oh, I see. And one thing we've got to do, I can't do it right now because it's too laborious, but we've got to give us a little feeling of delicacy, so it can't all be crude brush strokes like this. And then, speaking of which, now I'm going to take some of my yellow and shadow color and carve in a few petals. I think that's the challenge here, is that you want both the delicacy of the petals, but also the exuberance or the flair of them. So it's a little bit of a challenge to hit those marks. But I don't want to. I've also got to be careful. I don't want to be spending my 2 hours on this little cluster here. I've got to. Oh, I see. All right. So then, right above this flower is a big blob of white flower. Good. Up here, and then I'm trying to keep my brushes coherent, sorta. So here comes white in shadow for this flower. And then there's some sort of shadow here. Now, bear with me, let's see, oh, I see another green opportunity. The green is helping separate these flowers a little bit more. All right, now, then behind there, I'm going to try to move a little faster. We've got some sort of partly shadowed flowers. So I'm going to put them in like that. And then I'm going to move along a little bit because I want to get to the big pot. These flowers sort of peeking down here I like. All right, the big pot requires a new brush. So I'm going to take, I've got my puddle of white, fake white. So I'm going to do the pot in its color. White and blue with a little warmth. Let's just see what we get. Maybe a little more white. I want to get it a little warmer, not quite so blue. Let's see. Now back to the dominant color. Paint that in. I don't want this pot to end up looking like it's about to tip over, so I've got to make sure I get the symmetry appropriately to that. Let's go back to our green, our dark green, because I've got a conveniently placed little pile right there. And we get another carve out opportunity down here. Oh, I see. Bear with me. Now, there's also a nice highlight on this pot that I want to celebrate. So I'm just going to go for the moment, we'll go with a sort of something like that. And then there's another one up here. Now, there's also a little bit of a gradation going down. If we get down to here, it darkens somewhat as it heads south, so we got to get that in play. And then there's that pesky pattern, the world's hardest pattern. There's no escape, we've got to do it. But before I go there, I'm going to do a little, since I've got this white in shadow on my brush, I'm going to come in with some of the flowers. I'm going to make them dominantly white in shadow here, and then put the lights in them as needed. And then also I noticed that we've got a little bit of a, just in case we didn't have enough flowers in this picture, there's some stuff over here hiding, so we'll throw that in. Okay. Now I should be mindful of my idea that we've got to stick to our plot, our big structure idea. So I'm a little guilty of too much, doodaddying instead of reinforcing the big idea. So I've got to be mindful of that. But on the other hand, I want to get some of the hard labor done on these flowers. But let's see. I think I'm going to do a slight version of the pattern, even though it's, or I wonder if I can make it be part of the design structure. Could be good. But the danger of this pattern is it's going to break up. I'm worried it's going to break everything up. So, you know, our eye goes to light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, and that's all this pattern is a lot. And it's like if you're doing a musical and the people in the chorus are more exciting than the woman who's out in the front. You know what I mean? We don't want, that's not the star, so I've got to be careful of that. So let's see if I can do it a little more mutedly. And I can use burnout for getting it a little bit. And then as the pot turns away from us, the lines get thinner. And then, once they're here, they get much darker. So I'm trying to just lightly indicate without getting too explicit. And then up there is a sort of a banner, or a band of dark here. Maybe I can leave that alone. Let's leave that alone for now, for the moment. I know I just said let's leave that alone, but you know, here's a theory of mine I'll share that I think artists tend to, and see if you agree with this, have a little bit of an oppositional disorder. So if you say to an artist, turn left, they kind of want to go right. You know what I mean? And it's so strong that I think even to yourself, if you say, okay, now I'm not going to work on that ear anymore, I'm going to go over here. Pretty soon you're back with the ear. So I don't know what we do about that, but it seems pretty consistent. Now, all right, let's get back to work on our flowers, but they are there are a lot of them. Now, let's see. Now, I'll try to stay with my plot idea. How's my time, by the way? How much time have we eaten up so far?
It's 2:30, only a half hour.
Oh.
Break.
All right. All right, so now remember we've got this plot coming like this. So we can, one thing we can do is come back in with, since we're leading the eye down, we could say, all right, then let's go for let's get these flowers. Let's let them lead us down to the punchline. And then there's some, oh, I see. Leading us down. And then back to more shadowy stuff. Let's go here. I want to get rid of, uh-oh. All right. You know, Joel had the right idea. I think you'd said a push pin, but I said no duct tape, but
Do you want a push pin?
maybe so. Have you got one?
Yeah.
Although, you know, in a way, maybe the universe is saying, maybe you don't need that thing up there. You've already got the pot there. It's like how many, I like it when the forces of nature speak. All right, I'm going to leave that alone. Okay. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to leave it down, Joel, or Jim, after all that hard work. Because
Well, I have them here if you need them.
well, I just noticed it looks kind of better without it. So, you know, one thing also about oil painting, in my experience, and is that you know, things usually change for the better. Like if you have a model that's sitting in a certain position, and then they slowly shift into a different one, usually the new one is better. You know what I mean? They're more, they relax into the thing, and that's true in outdoor painting. I noticed too that often, in fact, I had an experience. Can I share this? I don't want to delay us, but I had an experience in Portugal. I was painting outside on the street, and it was an overcast day, so everything was kind of gray. But I thought, all right, we can go with that. We can go with the rich, you know, moody gray. And so while I was painting, though, there happened to be the sun burst through the clouds, and there was a chapel or a church or something up ahead, and the light was hitting it. So some local Portuguese guy tapped me on the shoulder, and he was like, you know, get that, you know. And I was at first, of course, irritated. It was sort of like, this is my picture. But then I looked at it and I thought, you know, he's absolutely right. It's like this sort of birth of the Messiah kind of moment. So I don't know what so I guess the takeaway is often, yeah, things work out, you know. You need to go with them. Now, that's not always the case, but all right, I'm going to just go, speaking of going with things, I'm going to just get some shadows. I'm going to make all these flowers in shadow. Bear with me. And then we're going to carve out the particulars and put the light in. All right. I think it's better to go back anyhow. Let's see. Bear with me here. I'm just wanting to get all the shadow stuff in as best I can. And then, see if this works. Then I'm going to take my background color, such as it is, and do a little carve out. And then we can put in a little bit of the light, hopefully. Trying to keep my brushes straight.
What are you painting on the surface?
You know, it's a product I like. It's called Artboard that I buy from. There's people in New Jersey that make it. Not I mean New Jersey, in Brooklyn. And you know, it's double primed linen, which I like. So, but it's kind of expensive is the only thing, the only catch. But I like most good things. All right, so we'll throw in a little bit of light. I don't want to overdo it because I like that this is sort of going back there, but let's get a little bit of light. Let's see. There's a cluster, maybe it got bumped into, but it's not very coherent cluster.
What kind of white do you use?
You know, I'm using a Permalba white. Do you all use that?
Yes.
I just like it. And, you know, I don't know too much about this issue, but somebody showed me they took all the, you know, zinc white, titanium, and they put a little dab of each on a board and left it alone for 20 years. And the Permalba was the only one that was still white. Everything else had yellowed pretty badly. And then, let's see what's happening here. Got to get some. I want to get the yellow flowers to play their part. Let's see. I've got to do that pretty soon. Yellow, I think I had a yellow brush. We don't have a lot of yellow flowers, but I want to imply that they're far away. They're not quite as vivid as the near flowers. Let's see. And then I've also got, I like these, the red, whatever those red flowers are, that might be a nice addition. I've got alizarin and cadmium red medium, so let's see if there's one here. And then one's coming up like this. And maybe I can go to straight red for some of this. And then, oh, well, let's go backwards a little bit and get to our background color, because I've got to do some carve out. And I think I'll carve out a little bit back here, maybe darker. And also I want to get rid of brush strokes in the background. I don't want that to be brushy. Now, I want to keep my eye on my plot, the movement of the plot. Let's make sure we get that.
Do you use a medium?
I'm using, yeah, Liquin. Do you know Liquin? That's what I'm using these days. I try not to use too much of it because it can get a little slippery then. So now, all right, let's go with that, and then maybe with my little brush, I see some tasty little stems I could exploit. Got to get out more white. Now, you know, what time is it now? How?
It's not even 3.
It's not even 3 yet? I'm worried. Well, I tell you what, let's at 3 o'clock, let's take a break for no good reason, but sometimes me getting away from the painting and then coming back and looking at it, I might get a fresher take. But, so we've got 10 minutes to push it a little farther. Let's see, get rid of that.
You use the same oil paint company, or
You know, I guess I use, what's it called, Winsor Newton typically, but I'm not fanatic about it, you know. And there's some colors that they don't do as well, like there's transparent red oxide is a color I like, and Winsor Newton doesn't, theirs, I don't know, theirs doesn't seem quite as nice, but
whose do you use for that?
no, who is it? Gamblin. So now, all right, so now we're gonna, you know, I'm neglecting some stuff, but let's see how I want to get, one reason stop is because I've got to clean my palette. It's covered in paint and I can't quite get it. I'm going to end that sequence about there, I think. Now, yeah, let me take a little more time. That's it. Yeah, every now and then it is mandatory to clean the palette. That is a fact. And now I'm going to go with this. I know there's sort of a cluster of flower options there. Let's see what we should do. I know we've got to do our white in shadow, so I'm going to put that in here. I'm a little tempted to make those, or throw in a yellow flower. Well, I know what I can do. There is a yellow flower there. So white and blue and some sort of backgroundy stuff coming in, maybe a little ultramarine. And then, oh yeah, so I thought, oh yeah, so I saw this flower here. This could be the sort of punchline flower, or the term, so bear with me. You know, in my experience, I would say that it doesn't matter what you paint, you know, at some point it's consuming, you know, you get into it. And so I think still lifes have a sort of a bad reputation, or, you know, they think, not too thrilling. But once you're in the heat of battle, it can get quite intense. Wouldn't you say? Even if you're painting 2 onions in a pot, you know, you can get. So I like that about painting. Wait, I had a special brush I was using for yellow, and now I've lost it. Maybe, oh, I found it. All right, so I'm going to go. We're going to end it on that yellow. That's what I think. Sort of a boink. That's our. Maybe that's a good time to stop. So we'll take a. What do we like to do? A 5-minute break? When you're painting, and you're feeling your painting doesn't quite isn't quite behaving. Let's say we're only allowed. Maybe this will help the cause. We're only allowed a very small amount of hard edge precision. And some paintings suffer because they've got hard edge precision everywhere. And so, but the eye can't absorb that. It's just like you're too dissonant noise from all directions. So you have to pick your sweet spot where you want the precision and the hard contrast edges. They're probably going to be the same. So the eye will go to, the human eye will go to resolution, things that are resolved, and it'll avoid things that are just vague. So it wants precision. So part of the game in painting is knowing it's almost like knowing the optics of what you're painting. That is, what the eye will look at, what it won't look at, that kind of thing. So, you know, it's, in other words, the science of optics, you could say, is part of our game. It's not just sort of, well, I felt like putting this color in. It should be based on a little more kind of scientific feeling. So I'm hoping right now, as I get this flower a little more precise, I'm hoping that will pull the eye towards that flower. And so I'm gonna sort of, let's see another issue I gotta clean off a little bit of the paint. And I should have, so it might be a little boring to watch, but I've got to do it. It has to be done. I just want to get a little more resolution in this sweet spot. And especially because that's one of the things that's true of flowers. That is, flowers have precision. They have delicate precision. And so if you're painting them too crudely, they won't look like flowers. So you have to get a little of the, we got to slow it down and get some of this kind of stuff. Now bear with me, having just said that. And then I'm going to give it back to I've got two different little brushes. I'm sorry this is so minute, but, oh, I see. The petal is getting a little light there, and that gives it a little. And I must say, when I was trying to pick out flowers this morning, there was some beautiful stuff, but there is something very friendly about daisies, if these are daisies. Are they these ones? Oh, they are? Chrysanthemums?
They're friendly mums.
They're friendly mums. Okay. Because, but anyhow, but yeah, so precision, I want to bear with me while I do a little of this precise stuff, just because I want the eye to look here. I see it. Somebody told me once what the name of this was. Oh yeah, it's the button. Did you know that's the button? That little thing in the center? At least somebody told me that. I don't know if it's true. And so this is my sort of core area, so I'm wanting it to be believable. And then I'm going to go down to the white now, and get it going. Oops, except wait, I just saw another button. Here's this button. All that work, I'm not sure it makes much difference, but it does seem to tell the story of what we're looking at a little better. Okay, and then I noticed the white flowers have a sort of green button. I keep saying that. I'm really not convinced that is the right word. Have you ever heard of that called a button before? No. Okay.
Slang.
I like the yeah.
It's descriptive.
It seems sort of right. But, oh, nice erasing. Now, if you can bear with me, we've just got to do our duty and get some of the precise stuff nailed. But these, it's a little dangerous to use the little brush because you can start doing little brushing everywhere and then you've got doodads everywhere so that's not good. Now, a good antidote to that is to go to yellow and white with a paddle knife, like here. Get a, like the light is just blasting on those petals, which it kind of is. Quite get the stroke I wanted. And then I can do a little carve out. Maybe just want to give us a little feeling of anchorage. Anchor here. Okay, so that's there. And then, bear with me, I'm going to try to expand. Now I'm going to my black and yellow and blue deep leaf color. More carve out. This is almost like, I know it seems kind of picky and petty, but it has to be done. Now also I noticed that, oh I see, okay, that this comes down more. You see that? I want to make sure that our pot is symmetrical. I'm not sure it is, but.
Are you listening, Ben?
I'm not against, by the way, a little bit of mechanical aid if you have a, what's it called, what's called calipers.
Calipers, yeah.
We could do that. Okay, we're going to start expanding now, I promise.
Almost like a compass. Reflection of the side.
Now, let's return to our plot. That's when we neglected a little bit. Boy, got an idea. Let me step away from this. I'm going to take a little bit of white my puddle of, let's see if I can simulate
It's like everything
Petals.
else is just sort of.
lit petals here. Now, now, if we want to have our plot, that's what I'm pausing for a second to think through. If we want this to be the plot, what if we went really overt and just stated it in the background tone? See if we can get away with that, so that there's no ambiguity. Let's say if we take black and burnt umber and some medium. You know,
What number brush are you using?
boy, I don't know. And there's no way to find out.
It's different with every line anyway. A big brush.
I like big brushes though, and that can help pull you away from minutia, which is could be said to be our enemy. So here's our plot. So now I'm hoping to reinforce it. So the light's coming like that, and then terminating here. I'm tempted to do something radical, but so if we go with that, and then we're pulling down here. And one way we can do it, or I'm having a change of heart slightly, because I'm thinking maybe a better movement or a more dynamic movement was this. So I'm a little bit changing the plot slightly. Don't tell anybody. But what if we go brighter here? Get a little more yellow.
What colors are you?
You know,
And it is.
yellow, orange, and stuff.
I'm
And
on
white, there's some white. But I think this. What do you all think? Do you buy that?
Yes.
Yeah,
Then we
it's
get-
there.
Kind of a forward C instead of that. So it's
Very nice.
it's like it's coming down.
Dramatic.
It's telling better maybe what the light is doing. Let's hope that's the thing. But you know, we're allowed to change our proceeding a little bit as we go. I think that's better. Pretend I thought of that at the beginning.
You had that in your
Well, the plot could always change.
Yeah, that's true. We're allowed.
Yeah, you were just illustrating that point.
Yeah. And you know, that opens up a whole issue because I'm a big fan of, we could call it open system, so that there's a team that says, no, you've got to put down the thing, and that's the final stroke, and then, but I'm saying, no, let's, if it's an act of discovery, then it's going to be, oh, wait, this could be this could be that. Now, there is a danger that you'll slip into chaos, and this is, so that is a thing. But open system to me is more better, especially if you've got a really bad memory like I do. I can't remember what the concept was at the beginning. Now, I feel like we could. Yeah, I like that so much better. Now, I'm going to try, this is all a little bit crude. I'd like to get that a little more finessed without changing too much. think we're gonna have to get a little bit of some little brush activity going. The other thing I think, now that we've got this plot going, is let's get, I'm gonna darken these flowers. I think they're hurting our new plot. So let's pretend they're in shadow. You know, they're there, but we're darkening them. I think that's should be legal. I think I like it better, especially if I can tweak it a little bit. I mean, if we had a little more time, we could, every flower has a character. Here's what a thing I've thought of at some point is that everything you're painting, including people or flowers or whatever, there's aspects of them that's very specific to that person, the likeness, the specialness of them. So that's got to be there. But at the same time, there's a generic, there's a human universal quality. So it's the dynamic between the particular person and how they connect to all other people. You know what I mean? So I think that's a helpful idea, because you can get lost in why doesn't this look more like Susie, but maybe that has to be addressed, but you also don't want it to look too specific. You have to find what's general about her, what's universal. Maybe it's the universal versus the particular. Yeah, I kind of like this darker better. So I don't know where I was going to go with that, but the general and the particular. All right, so now we're the one area that seems a little. Oh, I've got an idea. Wait, I've got an idea. Oh, okay. There's a thought I've had that every painting, and it may not hold up for every painting, but every painting, I will say it for the moment, see what you all think. Every painting needs some place where there's a burnout, where the light is just so strong it bleaches the surroundings. So let's say, with that, if that is true, let's say this is kind of where I want it to be. So I'm gonna go over that area, even though I'd already painted it, and make it the burnout zone. But just an area that is so bright that everything near it is bleached. So something like that makes the picture look a little less literal. It's just got a little more of a transcendent kind of feeling. So let's keep going with that. And then at the outer edge of that, then we could have a few petals in the near, but that's gonna be our zone. So let's see if we just go like this and just say, you know, the viewer has to assume that's what's going on. So you're hiding some of the particulars. And then I guess I could put a stem in, but I don't want to put it in too brightly because then it's, so I could go like that, something like that. So that's my bleach out zone, we'll say. Might be able to keep going on with this little bit. And then let's go for some stems.
Or if your bleach out zone doesn't necessarily have to contain the lightest light.
It probably, it should be pretty bright, but
Close to
yes, it's close to the brightest. But no, because I don't want people to go there, so that I'm not sure that's a good answer, but it might be, you know, I just like it, especially, you know, landscapes, for instance, often they'll have, you know, some bright buildings, and then you can show that the light is so bright it's bleaching out all the cornices and, you know, window frames and stuff, so you get this exciting, you know, stuff. Let me just tweak this little doodad. And then, now we've still got some commotion here. What's our time now?
You got a half hour.
It's 3:31.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're like,
well, okay, half hour.
So you're gonna leave the gray out like that?
Yes. I'm not sure yeah. And then, let's get back to work let's get a little more pedaling done. Oh, I know. Wait a second. Just gonna try to fake it a little bit, just get some of the feeling of those flowers. You know, now that I've gotten rid of, I might have a little hard time explaining to people why there's this flower growing out of the shoulder of the pot. Some troublemakers might say, wait a second, let's see. I'm gonna try, how much fraud can we allow here?
Shall I go for it?
Fake. Now let's see, this comes out a little farther maybe, does it? that I think, just don't know about that one. But maybe it's okay. You know, and the other thing, and don't you find, and what's hard in painting is things that you think might not work. You come back the next day and you think, oh, that's okay. Whereas the thing you think is really a killer, you come back the next day and go,
What was I thinking?
yeah, what was I thinking?
Joe, the blue sky, the blue sky.
It doesn't seem that common. You come in the next day and go, all right. Yeah, I've lost, because of that duct tape, I lost the sequence here of these flowers. Can I blame the duct tape? All right, let's go head south because we've still got this little rascal to do, who's supposed to be the sort of the punchline. Going back to my shadow color. How well intentioned I am. I end up using every brush. Oh, I see. I think this could just sort of be, these flowers could be sort of drifting into the background color. I think I could get away with that. And then let me fine tune that, because I've designated this daisy as the grand finale. So I want to make sure it's worthy of the thing. Okay, then. And then we could get a little bit more reflection into the tabletop. Now, I see, wait a second, I've got an idea. I think this will, I was gonna say this, and then I thought that I wouldn't say it, and now I'm back to gonna say it. The other thing besides burnout that I think a picture benefits from is, you'll be surprised to hear, a tunnel. That is to say, in my experience, most pictures, and you can check this out, go through your art books, but most pictures look better with some sort of tunnel. Now, it might be, think of a Van Dyke with his arm cocked like this, and then you see stuff through the tunnel. I don't mean important stuff, but you get a little, that idea, or a landscape where you've got two branches sort of landing on each other and you're able to see through to some, there's something satisfying about a tunnel. And so let's just see if we can get away with a tunnel effect here. See if I can even do it. Let's see. So I'm hoping that will look like we're looking through the opening at stuff behind. And then we could even give a sort of a mini version of that on the other side. I don't want to overdo that, but it could be there. And then I'm going to follow through, and then we're kind of nearing the finish line, I feel. Now that we've got our tunnel. Now I think to make that plausible, see, I've got to lower this. To make that plausible, I think I have to orchestrate a little more. I'm going to get a little more light here. Here. And then maybe a little more light here if we're going to say that something like that. If we had more time, we might orchestrate this a little better. Now, oh, I see. Wait, one more trick. But yeah, isn't that, have you ever heard that before? I don't think I have. The idea of a tunnel, getting a tunnel, and then just go look through Rembrandts and stuff. They liked, I think it must have been an overt thought. I don't think it was just that they just showed up there. And then I'm going to give us a little more, I'm not going to try to get this shelf, but there's sort of some vertical strokes I could do. Maybe I can use this. To get that a little more helpful, and then finally, to give you my last clean brush, I'm going to go to straight black, because that's the third ingredient that I've lately been thinking of. You've had burnout, tunnel, and now blackout. That is an area of the painting where there's no content whatsoever, because it's just jet black. And you can use black and put a little bit over here, but that helps the cause, because it means there's an area of the painting that isn't, that's impenetrable, that's, beyond our powers. All right, so. And I declare that done.
Greg, I have a question.
Yes.
When you finish a painting, do you varnish? And if you do, how long after you finish do you
Well,
varnish?
that is a big topic, and I know that there's a team that says you have to wait for 6 months
That's
and
what I was
all that
told.
stuff, but other people who first of all, who wants to wait for 6 months? But if you, they say, no, wait till it's dry to the touch and then varnish it. And I like that team. I haven't been able to, I haven't learned either way who's right, but that's what I'm hearing. Oh yeah, does anyone else have questions?